Hey everyone, welcome back to the Life and Language Podcast channel. I'm Ben. I've been drinking a lot of coffee this week, so I'm running on caffeine right now, which is actually pretty fitting for today's topic. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been lying in bed, feeling exhausted, but then you pick up your phone just to check one thing, and suddenly it's 2 hours later and you're completely wide awake? I think almost everyone has experienced that. But why does it happen? Why do screens make it so hard to fall asleep? That's exactly what we're exploring today, the science behind why screens keep us awake at night. But first, let's kick things off with a quiz question. Here it is. The human eye has special cells that detect a particular color of light, and this color is the main reason screens disrupt our sleep. So which color of light is most responsible for keeping us awake? Is it A, red light? Is it B, blue light? Or is it C, green light? So, is it A, B, or C? Have a think. I'm going to say B, blue light. That just sounds familiar to me, but I'm honestly not totally sure. We'll come back to the answer a little later in the episode, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get into it. Our bodies have something called a circadian rhythm. A circadian rhythm is your body's internal clock. It's the natural cycle that tells you when to feel sleepy and when to feel awake, roughly following a 24-hour pattern. This system has been with humans for hundreds of thousands of years, and for most of that time, the main source of light was the sun. When the sun went down, things got dark, and your brain got the message, time to sleep. But now, of course, we have phones, tablets, laptops, and televisions, and we're staring at them right up until the moment we close our eyes. And this is where the problem begins. Inside your eyes, there are special cells that are incredibly sensitive to light. These cells don't help you see images. That's not their job. Their job is to monitor how much light is in the environment and send that information to a tiny region of the brain that controls your sleep cycle. When these cells detect bright light, they send a signal that says, essentially, it's daytime, stay alert. So even if your whole body feels tired, your brain can be tricked into thinking the day isn't over yet. Now, screens don't just produce any light, they emit, which means they send out a very specific type of light. And this light has a direct effect on a hormone in your body called melatonin. Melatonin is a chemical your brain releases to make you feel sleepy. Think of it as your body's natural sleeping pill. Normally, melatonin levels rise in the evening as it gets dark, and that rising level is what makes you feel drowsy. Drowsy means feeling heavy and sleepy, like you can barely keep your eyes open. But when you're exposed to screen light in the evening, your brain suppresses. That means it holds back or reduces the release of melatonin. Less melatonin means less drowsiness, and less drowsiness means lying awake wondering why you can't sleep. I asked a few people what they think about this. Here's what they told me. The first person said, I never really believed screens affected my sleep until I tried leaving my phone outside the bedroom for a week. I fell asleep so much faster. It actually surprised me. The second person said, I use my tablet in bed every night to watch videos. I know it's probably bad for me, but honestly, it helps me relax. I don't think I could fall asleep without it at this point. And the third person said, I read about blue light filters and I turned one on my phone. I'm not sure if it made a huge difference, but I do feel like I sleep a little better. Could just be in my head though. Three very different experiences, right? And that's actually pretty normal. People respond differently, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. So let's go a bit deeper. The specific type of light that screens produce most intensely is short wavelength light, meaning light with a very short wave cycle, and this sits at the blue end of the color spectrum. This is why researchers often call it blue light, and is by far the most disruptive to your sleep chemistry. Now, some phone manufacturers and app developers have responded to this by creating what are often called night mode or warm light settings. These settings shift the color of the screen toward yellow and orange tones in the evening, which are less stimulating to those light-sensitive cells in your eyes. Stimulating here means activating or exciting. It's the opposite of calming. But here's an interesting twist. Some scientists argue that the color of the light may not be the whole story. They suggest that the problem is also cognitive, meaning related to thinking and mental activity. Cognitive load is the term researchers use. It refers to how much mental effort your brain is using at any given moment. When you're scrolling social media, watching dramatic content, or reading stressful news, your brain is highly engaged. It's processing emotions, forming opinions, feeling curious, sometimes feeling anxious. And a brain that is busy and stimulated is not a brain that is preparing for sleep, regardless of the color of the light it's receiving. This might explain why some people find that night mode helps a little, but doesn't completely solve the problem. So what can actually be done? Most sleep researchers recommend what's called a wind-down period, a stretch of time before bed, maybe 30 to 60 minutes, where you deliberately step away from screens and do something low stimulation. That means something calming and undemanding, reading a physical book, listening to soft music, or just sitting quietly. The idea is to let both your melatonin levels rise naturally and your cognitive load drop down to a level that allows your brain to transition into sleep. It sounds simple, and honestly it is, but actually doing it is the hard part, especially when your phone is right there on the nightstand. Before we wrap up, let's quickly go through today's words so they really stick with you. Circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock that controls sleep and wakefulness. You might say, my circadian rhythm was completely thrown off after my long-haul flight. Melatonin, the hormone your brain produces to make you feel sleepy. For example, spending time in dim light in the evening helps your body produce more melatonin naturally. Drowsy, feeling heavy and sleepy, like you're struggling to stay awake. You might say, I always feel drowsy in the afternoon after a big lunch. Suppress, to hold back or reduce something. For example, bright light in the evening can suppress melatonin production and delay sleep, stimulating, activating, or exciting, the kind of thing that makes your brain more alert. You might say, the news was too stimulating before bed, so I ended up wide awake. And finally, cognitive, relating to thinking, understanding, and mental activity. For example, social media places a surprisingly high cognitive demand on the brain, even when it feels like just casual scrolling. Okay, time to go back to our quiz question. I asked which color of light is most responsible for keeping us awake at night. Was it A, red, B, blue, or C, green? The answer is B, blue light. And look, I guessed B, so I'll take that win. Blue light produced intensely by the screens on our phones and laptops is the main culprit. It directly interferes with melatonin production and signals to your brain that it's still daytime. So the big takeaway today is this. Your phone doesn't just steal your time at night. It actually changes your brain chemistry and makes sleep physically harder to achieve. That's worth thinking about next time you reach for your phone at midnight. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like and subscribe to Life and Language. It genuinely helps the channel grow. And comment practice and I'll reply with today's phrase. Thanks so much for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.